Every week, college football games hinge on a single word.
Touchdown. Touchdown, Texas. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Touchdown. Touchdown. Touchdown, Wisconsin. Touchdown. 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 Touchdown, Stanford. Touchdown. Touchdown, Alabama. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Touchdown. Wow.
This is Touchdown Radio. Here's Gino Torretta and Taylor Zarzour.
Happy Thanksgiving and welcome to this very special edition of Touchdown Radio Tailgate. And Gino, this is one of my favorite shows to do of all of the different broadcasts that I do. And I know that, like most people that are close to me in my life, you make fun of me for all of the different broadcasts that I do. But this is truly, it's my most favorite Touchdown Radio Tailgate show of the year. And it's one of my favorites because you get to go through all of the food that you will be eating and that I will be eating this time of year. My broadcast partner, Alyssa Lang, has very strong opinions about turkey, does not like it. I feel like there are a lot of people, as the years have gone on, that have talked a lot of trash about turkey. Now, anyone that's ever traveled with the two of us knows that we prefer steak, certainly. And I love some really good seafood, but I love turkey on Thanksgiving. I don't want turkey all the time. Like, I like a good turkey sandwich. I'm not going to eat turkey as an entree for dinner, probably other than this one time per year. But I get pretty excited about turkey on Thanksgiving. Where are you on this?
Well, I would agree. I don't know where all the turkey hate comes from.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like that people are just jumping on the bandwagon. I would agree with you from the standpoint, it's not like we're rushing out and whipping up a whole turkey at any other point during during the year, but it is Thanksgiving tradition, and then we get all the fixings and everything on the side, and that it brings. And I challenge most people that if I give them a little taste of my rotisserie bird, I think they would. Think they would like it.
I really honestly wish that our families could combine on Thanksgiving. You are an excellent cook. I very much trust your judgment on these things, and like when you're in charge, I will tell you that quite possibly my favorite meal of the year is the meal on Friday. It's the leftover turkey sandwich and my daughter Katie does this panini press to it. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, you get the turkey, you get the dressing, you get the cranberry, maybe a little gravy on top. Holy cow. And a panini press, best sandwich of the year. And this might be the greatest Black Friday worth of football games we've ever had on Friday. And then Saturday's slate is tremendous too. Last week left a lot to be desired. You saw, I guess we would call it an upset with Pitt beating Georgia Tech last weekend, but we didn't really have a lot of exciting football on week 13. This is as good as it gets for week 14.
Yeah, there's no question. Last week, Pitt came out firing. I'm going to say they got a great young quarterback, and really the question after was, are they going to be able to keep him at Pitt for 4 years in this transfer portal day and age? But and Miami better watch out, because Pitt's got a lot of talented players. Defensively, they had a great scheme for Georgia Tech. They had Haynes King confused all night. I think Georgia Tech had that game really as Haynes King kind of Heisman, opportunity, being in prime time and this week, and then if he played well last week, and then obviously had the Georgia game, another opportunity. But didn't go well for Georgia Tech. It just mucked up the ACC
even more,
even more for the end of the season. And we got some great games, back this week, in Texas A&M. You got the Egg Bowl and all that drama that is not part of the game, but is part of the game.
Yeah, and I think that's the one that I'm most intrigued by. I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, the Iron Bowl at night, crazy things happen there in Jordan-Hare Stadium. You've seen them happen a lot. You've done that rivalry game many times, especially on the Plains, and it seems like that's where Auburn plays its best. They don't ever play well in Tuscaloosa in this game, but they do They certainly play well in that, and they could spoil Alabama's fortunes of getting to the college football playoff. So that one has a lot of intrigue. All these SEC games. I mean, Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt playing at Tennessee. I mean, combined, I've never seen these two teams as good as they are this year. And there's a lot of implications. It means a lot in the state that one of the states I now call home, Texas at Texas A&M. You referenced that. But the Egg Bowl, Ohio State, Michigan, we will get to, and Ohio State has not beaten Michigan since 2019, which is crazy. I don't know that a lot of people really understand that. There wasn't a game in 2020, and then Michigan has won 4 in a row. So it's been a long time since the Buckeyes beat Michigan. Is this really going to happen again? That's at the top of the slate and deserves to be there. There's a bunch of others that are on the card. SMU needs a win to get to the ACC championship game, and they're playing a fairly good Cal team that just fired their coach, and now they have an interim coach against SMU on Saturday night. But the Egg Bowl, this Lane Kiffin story, I there's a lot of different things that we could say about it. I'll just leave with this. It's disappointing. I really wish that all we were talking about was the Egg Bowl and Ole Miss playing Mississippi State and the greatest Ole Miss season in 60 years, at least 60 years. But instead, there's this circus that comes around it, and I just think it's terribly unfortunate. Nick Saban wants to blame the current state of college football for it. I'm sure that explains to a degree why we're going through it, but I'm really disappointed in Lane Kiffin that he's allowing this story to go on the way it is.
Well, I think that if you read into it, being allowed means there's going to be change. I don't know. That's just the only way I look at it. I mean, from a financial point, it seems like Ole Miss is, hey, we'll match any offer. But Lane Kiffin has not squelched any rumor that I might not be moving on. And because of that, you would think that he is going to move on. And oh, by the way, how is that going to affect? I mean, I would argue that that's a bigger deal than Florida State's quarterback getting hurt a couple of years ago and them not making the playoffs. I mean, who's going to be the one calling the plays? I mean, he's the guy. He's the one that
now Charlie Weiss Jr. calls the plays, Gino, but he, of course, Lane Kiffin. These are Lane Kiffin's plays. So to your point, he has everything to do with what they're doing all over the football field. So there's no question it's a massive impact if he's not coaching the team. And I'll be fascinated to see if this collection of committee members penalizes Ole Miss if Lane Kiffin isn't coaching the team. I know this sounds crazy, and maybe the only parallel is if we go back to the late 1980s when a Michigan man will coach Michigan during the NCAA tournament, and Steve Fisher and Michigan won a national championship as he was an interim coach there. But if you're Ole Miss, do you want Lane Kiffin to still be your coach after this? I realize how good of a coach he is, and it's going to be impossible to find anybody that maybe is as good as Lane Kiffin is. But is there, even if he comes out and says, I'm staying at Ole Miss, I mean, how are Ole Miss fans going to feel about that?
Oh, I think they're going to be happy.
Really?
I think your question is, then why did why the drama? I think there's something with Coach Saban saying, the schedule, and listen, I would agree. The schedule, the transfer portal, high school signing being a month before the transfer portal opens makes absolutely zero sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have these coaching moves, which essentially on a coaching move, the transfer portal opens for that team anyway. For everybody if they want it because of the coaching change. And but if he decided to stay, I think the question is, well, why didn't you just come out? You know what I mean? If it was about money and they already said they're going to make you whole, why do that?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you would be disappointed in, and why you were I guess had sleepless nights over it and allowed it to continue to go on and on. I think that when it started, the rumors, it was kind of like there's no way he's leaving. He's never been happier. He's there. Well, they continue to say he's happy, but he hasn't said I'm staying.
Right.
So that's why I just say if you let it continue to fester, usually then it is going to be a decision.
Yeah, and we'll see what impact all of this has on the way Ole Miss plays against an improved Mississippi State team. They're 5-6, but they were 2-10 last year. So Jeff Lebby, who used to coach with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss years ago, is now the head coach there, and we'll see if he can pull off the upset. I know he would love to do that. There are a lot of you said about the crazy ACC implications. I'm not going to go through all of the what ifs here, but I am going to tell you this: Virginia, SMU, and Pitt are all 6-1. If Virginia and SMU win, Virginia and SMU will play in the ACC championship game. So Pitt needs one of those two teams, Virginia playing Virginia Tech, SMU playing Cal. They need one of those two teams to lose, combined with a Pitt win at home against Miami. Hurricanes, who are in the best position, at least from a ranking standpoint, of any team in the ACC, they obviously need to beat Pitt, and they need one of those UVA or SMU losses.
They need a dominant win versus Pitt to stay in that, be in that at-large.
Yeah, well, that's right. To be in the at-large situation, yes, but to get into the ACC championship game, they would need UVA or SMU to lose, combined with beating Pitt. Georgia Tech and Duke are actually still in the conversation as well, but they need a world of help in order to get into the game. So it's kind of wild to go through all that ACC stuff. It's pretty simple in the Big Ten. If Ohio State and Indiana both win, they're going to play each other. Now, if Ohio State loses to Michigan, or if for some reason Indiana loses to Purdue, which doesn't seem likely, then Oregon and Michigan still could carve a path to the Big Ten championship game. In the Southeastern Conference, if Alabama and Texas A&M both win, they will meet each other next week in the SEC championship game. If either loses, then Georgia goes to the SEC championship game, and they play the one that didn't lose. Now, if both of them lose, Texas A&M and Alabama, then Georgia would play Ole Miss, assuming Ole Miss beats Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. So there's still a few scenarios there. Big 12 is pretty simple. Texas Tech and BYU are in the driver's seat there. If both teams win their games this weekend, they'll meet again in the Big 12 championship game. Utah and Arizona State still have an outside shot. The group of five right now, North Texas and Tulane are in the driver's seat to get to the American championship game. We have news about North Texas coach. We'll tell you about that coming up. Navy needs some help to get in. South Florida and East Carolina are long shots. And then the other conferences we'll get to a little bit later on. We could see a scenario where JMU plays the winner of Troy and Southern Miss in the Sun Belt. The Mountain West is a little more convoluted. San Diego State is in the best position of any team there. And then if you go down to the MAC, good luck. There's 5 or 6 teams that have a chance in that conference. So we'll get to all of that coming up here in just a little bit. I should have mentioned Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State have a big game coming up this weekend. Actually, the winner of that will play a JMU. It looks like in Conference USA. So a lot of craziness this weekend, Gino, to go through.
I'm curious. Do you think these conferences would rather have the old style division? Because it doesn't seem like there was this many questions going into the last game of the year ever with conferences and scenarios. There was always like, okay, this team has won the SEC East, SEC West is up for grabs, or the ACC Coastal is won by this team.
I do like how much all these games, especially in these group of 5 conferences, matter. Like Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State, it seems like a de facto play-in game. In the Sun Belt, James Madison looks like they're going to play the winner of Troy and Southern Miss. I do like that, the Miami Pitt game could have an impact on who plays in the ACC championship. That Texas A&M game on Friday night obviously is going to have a big impact on the SEC. So I do like that part, but yeah, it's a little more messy. That's for sure. We're going to also talk, speaking of messy, we're going to talk about the Heisman Trophy, which could be decided this weekend and or next weekend. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit as well, and certainly go through the college football playoff rankings. Coaching carousel is nuts. It's Thanksgiving, it's football, it's family, it's food. We've got it all covered on Touchdown Radio Tailgate. Gino, we were talking before the break here on Touchdown Radio Tailgate about some of the coaching craziness, most of it surrounding Lane Kiffin, but I feel like we're going to get a lot more news in the next few days. I think we were prepared for one of the American coaches to potentially take a new job in the next week or so. I think most people thought it might be John Sumrall, who certainly, as the head coach at Tulane, is being courted by a number of power programs right now. I've heard his name a lot at places like Auburn, but it's Eric Morris at North Texas who has agreed to be the head coach at Oklahoma State. He's going to finish the season at North Texas. They may play in a conference championship game. Gino, they could go to the college football playoffs. Yeah, and Eric Morris, who's going to finish the season with North Texas, is then going to go to Oklahoma State to be the new head coach of the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's obviously these things, Oklahoma State fired Gundy a long time ago, and it seems like they wanted to be one of the first to fill up their vacancy, and I think Morris is an excellent hire. The guy's been great. He's been phenomenal offensively wherever he's been. Obviously ties, in and around the area, Texas and things like that. And, but like you said, it is with the schedule and with him trying to get to a conference championship game and then on, how much does that put him behind the eight ball in recruiting? That, like I said, I mean, the high school
right, the calendar, that's it.
Because the first part of December, it just seems like the powers that be make some decisions that always are head scratchers and don't think about the the ramifications. Listen, if you set the transfer portal, I think everything should be set off that. If that's January, whatever, 7th or 8th, that's when the portal is going to be open. Why are we trying to sign or not sign? Because it seems like a lot of these schools aren't recruiting the high school kids because they're not sure who they're going to get in the portal.
Right.
And then they have roster limits. So why not say, okay, if the transfer portal is January 7th, why can't the recruiting, the signing date go back to like it used to be when I came? It was like the first or second Wednesday in February. And then
it would make a lot more sense. Nick Saban was talking about that recently, and it would make a lot more sense if we did that. There's no question. I mean, this is crazy.
The schools try to supplement, with transfer portal. If they don't get the transfer portal, then okay, these are the positions we need, the high school players that we want to sign, and you move on. And then if there's always, the young quarterbacks that are trying to enroll in January. Of course, they sign early. They enroll in college early. Okay, we get that. They've done that with signing day in February. But it just doesn't seem like that would be a minor tweak, and I think it would help the coaches recruiting high school. Some of the dust would have been settled with the transfer portal. And then I think it would be fine. But, I just don't understand. It seems like it should be in reverse order.
Yeah.
It's almost like having the NFL draft, before like the free agency window is just opposite. It doesn't make sense.
As for the Heisman Trophy, Julian Sayin, the quarterback at Ohio State, Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback at Indiana. If both teams win this weekend, they'll meet next weekend in the Big Ten championship game. And many are saying that it would be basically the winner wins the Heisman sort of game. Obviously, both teams would be in position to go to the college football playoff and want to win a Big Ten championship game. You have a number of other players like Marcel Reed, the quarterback at Texas A&M. If he beats Texas and finishes an undefeated regular season and then goes to the SEC championship game and wins that, he could be in position. Gunnar Stockton, the quarterback at Georgia, has had an outstanding year. I think because of Georgia Tech's loss last week, Haynes King might have dropped down a bit. Then you have Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. I'm not sure there's a player that means more to his team in all of college football than Pavia does to Vanderbilt, and the Commodores play Tennessee in Knoxville this weekend. So help me understand this, because I think as a Heisman voter, I don't have any idea what I'm doing with a couple of weeks remaining.
Well, the one thing I would say, I would agree with you because everything's on the line these last few weeks. I think the email that we got yesterday, being an elector, that the voting window's changed and it's been shortened to 48 hours, is a little different. I mean, normally the ballots were coming out this weekend, and after the regular season, some people voted. Now the ballots aren't going to come out until Friday on the 5th. And the voting opens on Saturday, which brings the conference championship games into play. But all of those players, Pavia, obviously a huge opportunity on the road against Tennessee. Like you said, I mean, he's the engine that makes Vanderbilt go, and a big performance, and he's obviously at tops of a lot of people's lists. I think Julian Saint's been outstanding. The question is, Ohio State, well, they've been challenged. They got such a great team, but heck, they haven't beat Michigan in 4 years. And oh, by the way, he might have one of the best players in the country that he's throwing to all the time. Yes. in Jeremiah Smith and Tate. I mean, both of them are just phenomenal. So he's got an opportunity. I think Mendoza has great numbers, has got an opportunity with all eyeballs are going to be on these guys. I think that the best part is we have games where these guys, it's not an overmatched opponent, it is the best on best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you want. And it's going to come down to and when people say, well, it shouldn't come down to that final performance, it's not the final performance. All of their performances have put them in this situation.
That's right.
To make the final performance matter. And I think that's in and of itself is great for the award. I think it's great for college football. I think there should be more than 4 people invited every year, but that's just me, because I think there's a ton of great players.
Oh, it's not just you. I assure you, especially this year
in college football. But I think it's going to be exciting, and it's that it comes down to these conference championship games and how that's changed. Where a few years ago, I remember, what was it, 25-30% of the vote had gone in before the conference championship game because some of the voters, like, I don't agree that person has another opportunity. Like, well, okay, well, they got another game.
No, it makes a lot of sense that they're waiting now. I do like that move, and we need the whole body of work to make a decision on that. And so I'm in favor of it. And you're right. These guys, these handful of players that have put themselves at the top of the Heisman race, and now you basically have one more or two more showcase games to show us if you continue to belong in the race. I think that's the way that it should be. So this will be exciting this weekend and next to see how that all shakes out. Let's go through the rankings in the College Football Playoff Committee's most recent rankings. Seems to be some more unrest among the die-hard college football circles and the college little football bubble about some of these rankings. We'll see what Gino thinks about them coming up next on Touchdown Radio Tailgate. All right, Gino, let's get to the rankings, and we're going to go quickly through this and just give me a quick comment here. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M. You have no problem with the undefeated teams in the position they're ranked at the top?
None at all.
Okay. Now let's get to the one-loss teams. Georgia's number 4, Texas Tech's 5, Oregon moves up to 6 after beating USC, and Ole Miss is number 7 in the rankings now. Any issue with where the one-loss teams are ranked?
I would have said left Ole Miss in front of Oregon, but an impressive win at home for Oregon. And I would say that's kind of curious because I think that would be recency bias. I think this is what they call that in the voting world. And I would probably have left them the same.
Okay.
In that ranking.
All right, this is where it gets really interesting. Oklahoma's the top 2-loss team at number 8. Notre Dame, who's won 9 straight games after an 0-2 start, losing to Miami and to Texas A&M to start the season. Then they've run roughshod through everyone since then. They're number 9. Alabama, who lost to Oklahoma, is down at number 10, and essentially they get the last at-large spot in the field right now. We'll get to that in a moment. BYU, a one-loss team, is down at number 11, and then Miami, who beat Notre Dame, is number 12, 3 spots behind the Irish. Utah is at 13. Vanderbilt is at 14. Michigan is at number 15. There's a lot of people that think this is ridiculous, that Miami belongs ahead of Notre Dame in the rankings. Some are saying the head-to-head is not all that matters here anymore. You got to factor in more things. Miami's losses are bad losses compared to Notre Dame's losses. What is your feeling on this?
Well, and I would agree. The Miami stumbled late to disappointing loss at Louisville and then on the road against SMU. I think that SMU loss, people were like, "Oh, that's a terrible loss."
It's not so bad anymore. They're now number 21 in the rankings.
Their way in the ACC championship game. So I think that for that, the voters or the committee is looking at Notre Dame and saying they're playing stronger, because I think what they're going to do with Notre Dame and Miami, if you're just taking those two teams, evaluating the two, yes, there's the head-to-head, but I think they've played like 4 of the same opponents, and it's going to go back to the average margin of victory. People complained, about Florida and Spurrier running up the score, or Miami running up the score, and this. And it was like, well, you have to do that to make a statement to these voters, because at the end, when they go back and look at your schedule, oh, you guys both played Syracuse. What was the final? Well, one of them beat 77. Miami didn't beat them by 63 points. So that will factor into the decision. I think based on these rankings, I think we could have gone down to 18 where they had a chance. I think Michigan has got a opportunity this week that they would shake up. If they beat Ohio State, then all of a sudden they're going to be jumping way up there. And I would venture to say maybe even higher than Notre Dame. I think BYU has an opportunity that they win out in the Big 12 championship game. Then you have a decision. What do you do with Texas Tech? So there is still so many, machinations of what's going to happen and who's going to be in the playoff in the top 12, that I would say probably even and with the coaching change, outside of the top 6, I think those last 5 spots are really going to be okay. Who's going to be in those last 5 spots? That's how crazy it's going to get. And then if you throw in an upset of Ohio State or Texas A&M or Indiana, it's going to be I don't know if you want to say messy, but there's going to be a lot of things change here at the end.
All right, I'm going to give you a potential scenario here in just a second. Taylor's picks sure to go wrong coming up. But first, I want to tell you what it would look like right now. So Ohio State would go to the Rose, Indiana to the Cotton, Texas A&M to the Sugar, Georgia would go to the Orange. If those top 4 teams got buys, I believe that's where they would go. Texas Tech would play Tulane in a 5-12 matchup in Lubbock. Oregon would play Virginia in a 6-11 matchup in Eugene. Ole Miss would play Alabama in Oxford in a 7-10 matchup. Sign me up for that. And Oklahoma would play Notre Dame in an 8-9 matchup. That's what it would look like if it ended right now. And of course, we're assuming Tulane wins the American. You could put North Texas in there instead of Tulane, but we're just making that assumption. We're assuming Virginia would beat SMU. So there's a couple of assumptions there on who would win conference championship games. But let me just give you this real quick, okay? I'm gonna tell you Taylor's pick sure to go wrong here. And I'm obviously giving away some of my picks for the next segment. I think Texas is going to beat Texas A&M this weekend.
Wow.
I've got that happening on Friday night. I think in Austin, Texas knocks off the Aggies. Okay, which would mean, and I think Alabama's going to beat Auburn, and that means that Georgia and Alabama are going to the SEC championship game. I think Ohio State's going to beat Indiana next week in the Big Ten championship game after Ohio State finally beats Michigan this week. I think Texas Tech is going to beat BYU in the Big 12 championship game, beat them for a second time this season. In the ACC championship game, give me SMU beating Virginia and going back to the college football playoff again. All right. Ole Miss is going to beat Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl this weekend. Oklahoma will win this weekend. So will Notre Dame. Miami is going to win at Pitt. And finally, North Texas is going to beat Tulane to win the American Championship. Now, those are a lot of fun picks to make. If that happens, you'd have Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, and Indiana as your top 4 buys. I'm picking Georgia to beat Alabama in the SEC Championship game.
Even with Indiana losing to Ohio State?
Would Indiana? Yes, they would fall from 2 to 4 as an 11-1
Okay.
as a 12-1 team. Yes, they would fall down to number 4 in the rankings. Ole Miss would be number 5, Texas A&M number 6, Oklahoma number 7, Notre Dame number 8. Alabama would be number 9. Miami makes it in as an at-large at number 10. North Texas wins the American. They're 11. And SMU gets the last spot, sneaking in over James Madison as the number 12. So Ole Miss would play SMU, A&M would play North Texas, Oklahoma would play Miami, Notre Dame would play Alabama in the first round of the college football playoffs. There you
People
go.
are driving around right now. Their head exploded. They're like, hold on, go through that again. They're trying to figure out what the rankings are right now. If it's just chalk them up.
Not all of that is going to happen, obviously. but the point of sharing this is something like this is going to happen. I just want people to be prepared. This Friday and Saturday and next weekend, you're going to have chaos happening, and we're going to get some results that you weren't prepared for. Could a Miami slide into the college football playoffs without winning their conference? Could North Texas or SMU? Is there a scenario where SMU wins the conference and the ACC champion doesn't go to the college football playoff and James Madison goes in instead? I don't think that would happen, but it could. There's going to be some fun scenarios here in the next 9 days or so, and I'm here for it. I love it.
What do you think it's the ACC and it is going to have, I don't know, can have the biggest factor in a lot of these dominoes?
Yeah, I think so, because like in the example I just shared, what if I think Vanderbilt's going to beat Tennessee this weekend. And they're going to have to make a choice for that last spot between 10-2 Miami and 10-2 Vandy. And I think it's going to be tough if Vandy wins at UT. That's a huge win to win in Knoxville. But gosh, how do you penalize Miami? They beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame went crazy after that game and won 10 straight games. It's going to be razor thin, the margin between Miami and Vanderbilt, if they went to that scenario right there. Pitt right now is ranked in the top 22. Tennessee's number 19. It would be really close. Utah is sandwiched between Miami and Vanderbilt. If Utah wins this weekend, they're 10-2. They'd be in that conversation as well. So it's going to be fascinating. And the other thing is Texas, if they beat Texas A&M, I know they're 9-3, and you would think they'd still be behind all those teams. But beating Texas A&M is one of the biggest wins of the year in college football. So it's going to be wild to be in that committee room and see how they figure all this out. And you and I are going to have a lot to say about this next week on Touchdown Radio Tailgate. We're going to do a marathon show on the rankings next week. But we got to make some picks. We got to take a break. We're both 85-45. Making picks on the season, tied with just a couple of weeks remaining. We'll get to those picks coming up next on Touchdown Radio Tailgate. I am so pumped to make the picks, these special Thanksgiving picks that we're making this week here on Touchdown Radio Tailgate. Gino and I are both 85-45 on the season. Let's get right to it. Let's go to the Egg Bowl. Number 7, Ole Miss at 5-6, Mississippi State. 12 o'clock kick on ABC. The Rebels are 7.5-point favorites. G, who you got?
I'm taking Ole Miss, and even with all the distractions, I think they're trying to punch their ticket into the playoff.
Agree with you. Your friend and mine, my statistician Kevin Maloney, a State grad, we have a big bet on this game, and he has no belief in his team. If State wins, I win the bet, but I think Ole Miss is going to win, and he's going to win the bet. So I'm taking Ole Miss. Number 4, Georgia, is at number 23, Georgia Tech. 10-1 dogs at 9-2 Jackets. Jackets stumbled last week. Georgia's a 13.5-point favorite. Playing this game in Mercedes Stadium. Evidently, Bobby Dodd Stadium is not equipped for clean, old-fashioned hate anymore. I'll take Georgia with a lot more Dogs fans than Jackets fans in the building.
Well, let me tell you this: there was a significant contribution to Georgia Tech to move their home game into Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I'm just going to say, in today's college and football environment, you can't blame them. But yeah, Georgia rolls. I mean, Georgia Tech got kind of manhandled and confused last week against Pitt, and Georgia's an even better team.
Number 3, undefeated Texas A&M Aggies are at number 16 Texas, and this game starts at 7:30 on ABC on Saturday night. That's Eastern time, of course. The Aggies are 2.5-point favorites. G, who wins?
Well, you're taking Texas. I know that because based on your last segment pick. So but I'm taking A&M on the road. I know it's going to be difficult. I know it's going to be probably the priciest ticket in college football this weekend, but I'm taking A&M on the road.
Okay, I got to see it to believe it. It's been incredible that the Aggies are 11-0 with a lot of close games against bad teams, South Carolina, Arkansas, etc. This is Texas Super Bowl, given the way their season's gone. Let's go to the Territorial Cup next. Number 25 Arizona is at number 20 Arizona State. Both teams are 8-3, and the Wildcats are 1.5-point favorites at home in Tucson on Friday night. 9:00 kick on Fox. Give me the Sun Devils on the road.
Yeah, I'm going with Arizona State as well. I think Arizona's been playing great at the latter part of this season, but I'm taking forks up. We're going Arizona State.
Let's go to the game. Number 1 Ohio State at number 15 Michigan. 12:00 kick on Fox. Buckeyes 10-point favorites. This Buckeye team has won the national championship. They've been the number 1 team in college football most of the entire year. They hadn't beaten Michigan in 6 years. I think they're highly motivated to do that, and I think they will.
Well, they're highly motivated, and they've essentially been load management with the Stars in the last several weeks. It seems like to prepare for this Michigan game, but I would agree. I think Ohio State finally gets that monkey off their back, and they want to win this one more than ever.
Next, number 12 Miami is at number 22 Pitt. 12:00 kick on ABC. Your alma mater is a 6.5-point favorite. G, who wins?
I'm going to say Miami goes on the road and wins. I think this game is going to be closer than I think they're almost a touchdown favorite. I just was really impressed by Heinschel, the quarterback at Pitt last week. They got a young running back who's a stud, and defensively, the game plan that Narduzzi will have will confuse Carson Beck and most quarterbacks at times, but I'm going to say Miami pulls this one out.
The quarterback of the Tennessee Titans has promised a Hurricanes victory. I'm going to have a lot to say to him if he's wrong. I'll ride with Cam Ward. Miami wins the game on Saturday. Next, number 6, Oregon is at Washington. 3:30 kick on CBS. The Ducks are 6.5-point favorites, and the Ducks are going down, Gino. Give me UW with a win at home in Seattle.
How about that one? All right. Well, then you know what? I was thinking about taking that one, but I'll go opposite you just to be opposite you. I'll take some Flyers, but the Ducks are not going down in that one.
Number 14 Vanderbilt is at number 19 Tennessee. 3:30 kick on ESPN, and the Vols are 3-point favorites. Gino, living in Nashville, I have learned how much the Vols are loved throughout the great state of Tennessee. This is the year of the Vanderbilt Commodores and Diego Pavia. Who wins the game?
I'm taking Tennessee. That environment is phenomenal. Like you said, it's almost like the state is behind both of those teams, and maybe a little bit more Vanderbilt this year. But I'm going to say Tennessee takes it at home.
No, sir. Diego Pavia and the Doors finish off the
Punches
greatest
his ticket to New York City.
The greatest regular season Vanderbilt has had in 100 years, and they win. They've never won 10 games in a regular season, and it happens this Saturday in Knoxville. Anchor down. Give me the Doors, and bring all the hate, Vols fans. You know I love you, but man, this is the year of Pavia. All right, let's go to the Iron Bowl up next. That's on the Plains. Gino has the call, 7:30 Eastern time here on SiriusXM, courtesy of Touchdown Radio, and it's on ABC as well. Alabama's a 6-point favorite at Auburn. Give me the Tide. You know what? I've seen a lot of crazy things in that stadium through the years. I think the Tide is too much this year. And I do think that Oklahoma loss factors in here. I think kind of like Ohio State, Gino, I think the Tide will be motivated to win.
Well, I would agree with you. And it seems like, listen, crazy things happened in Jordan-Hare. And it almost seems like Auburn is kind of snake bitten recently with those crazy things. Those crazy things happen against them. But the coaching change and that, and I would agree. I think Alabama knows that they got to go out there and put on a great performance.
The last pick of the regular season. This is kind of interesting because it's an ACC game. Who would have ever thought this? Number 21 SMU is at 6-5 Cal, and the Stangs are 13.5-point favorites on ESPN2 on Saturday night. They win the game. They go back to the ACC championship game in Charlotte again, Gino, and I'm taking Coach Lashley and SMU.
I'm 100% with you. Cal fired Wilcox, and he's basically their defensive leader, and you got an offensive guy coming to town, and I think SMU's playing their best ball at the right time at the end of the season.
Okay, so we have three differences this week. I'm taking Texas. You're taking Texas A&M. I'm taking Washington. You're taking Oregon, and I'm taking Vanderbilt. You're taking Tennessee. Tied on the entire season going into this last week. We have 1 minute left in the show. Your favorite side on Thanksgiving. We've established that we both love turkey, and we love the leftover Thanksgiving turkey sandwich. What's the best side you have to have on Thanksgiving?
Oh, homemade stuffing. I mean, that's not even a question. The homemade stuffing that my wife makes has got Italian sausage in it. It's got ground beef, sourdough, fresh breads.
Oh, my goodness. It sounds amazing. She's from Ohio. You're from California. You call it stuffing. Everyone in the South calls it dressing. Whatever you want to call it, I'm sure it's delicious. Well, enjoy it, my friend. I'm very thankful for you, and I'm thankful for this show. Enjoy an incredible atmosphere on Saturday. I'm excited to call South Carolina and Clemson in the Palmetto Bowl. Enjoy all of this, all these amazing matchups this weekend, and make sure you listen to Touchdown Radio Tailgate on Saturday night. For Gino Torretta, I'm Taylor Zarzour. We appreciate you listening to SiriusXM.